A master in the art of living makes little distinction between his work and his play, his labor and his leisure, his mind and his body, his education and his recreation, his love and his religion. He hardly knows which is which. He simply pursues his vision of excellence at whatever he does, leaving others to decide whether he is working or playing. To him, he is always doing both.
Mike, gosh, you're just so beautiful today after that quote. Got me in tears. You're a beautiful man. Mike, seriously, jokes aside, that when you sent me that quote, I was like, that's how I want to live. That's what I want in my life. I want someone to be able to say that statement about me.
So Nick, I read that, gosh, I don't know, about 10 years ago. And actually before we hit record here, I should have looked up, who said it. Could probably Google it here while we're talking.
It's like The Office. It's like Wayne Gretzky - Michael Scott.
Right. I read that, and I honestly, I remember reading. I remember where I was. I remember everything about it, and my business partner actually lives that. And I remember I sent it to him. It's like, this describes you better than anything I could come up, better words than I could ever come up with. And it's who I want to be. And honestly, I try to live that. And I think as an entrepreneur, you almost have to, right? I mean,
yeah, especially like the part that stood out to me this time when you read it was, it makes no distinction between his education and his recreation.
right.
I'm like always learning something. When you think about it, it's like, oh, I'm studying up on this. I'm studying up on that. Like, cause I think it's fun,
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the first one, the work and the play, right? I mean, that goes to the passion of what you're doing, right? If you're passionate about something, it's not work. Hopefully a lot of people listening to this are in that boat. I think a lot of the people I've met in the metalworking nation certainly are in that boat. I mean, this is their passion also.
Yeah, the people who share little clips on Instagram or TikTok or whatever about their machining, it doesn't, oh, I have to do this. They're just like, this is so cool. Look what I made. Or
Right.
look at the way I made it or whatever. You could tell it's like their play.
That's the old adage of, find something you love and you'll never work a day in your life, right? I mean, it's kind of the same statement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes no distinction between his love and his religion. For us, like, I don't even like the word religion, it's just my love, right? And then his mind and his body, we talked about that for a whole episode. You get your body right, you get your mind right. And with that, let's talk about your trip, dude. You just got back from what did you climb, Everest or something like that? What was
that? No, not quite Mount Everest, but yeah, we our family vacation spot is Estes Park, Colorado, and it's definitely our happy place. We climbed Hallett's Peak, which is not the biggest mountain there, but it's a big one, and it was quite an achievement for me. It was really cool to do it with my wife and kids. I'd done it as a kid myself, but my kids make the 5th generation of Paynes that have made that hike.
You are such a Payne that
right.
Your family has made 5 generations of Payne.
Yes.
No, that's pretty awesome, though, man.
I made them promise me that there'll be a 6th.
Yeah,
so that they'll get their kids up there.
That's cool.
And we did a lot of fishing. Matter of fact, I need to thank Matt Lindsay with Autopilot and Bozeman Reel up in Bozeman, Montana. Got a couple of fly fishing reels from him this summer. Talk about precision. I mean, these guys, they are making some fine parts. They're an aerospace shop, but they also have they also make fly fishing reels. And my guide and the fly fishing shop here in town that saw these reels, they were amazed at the quality and the precision that they made these things. So shout out to them for, just again, thank a machinist, right?
Yeah. Let me guess. Mr. Lindsay likes fly fishing, right?
I think he does.
Yeah, because he's making little distinction between his work and his play.
He's making very little distinction between his work and his play.
That's awesome.
He's a master in the art of living.
Yeah, heck yeah, man.
For years and years and years, I thought I couldn't leave the office. And as you develop a good team, it does give you that opportunity have a little distinction between your work and your play.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. That's something that you texted me while you were gone, and you were like, "Hey, I want to do an episode on this," and something we've thought about a lot. We've done episodes about this a little bit, not exactly this episode before, but after 420 episodes or whatever, you kind of talk about everything. So,
Right.
yeah, like what inspired you? Give me that moment where you were like, "Man, we need to record about this."
Well, I think one thing for me, people talk about work life balance, and the reason we use fallacy in the title, right, is there such a thing? I mean, it's so first of all, no one ever talks about. I mean, work life balance. People mean you need to work less, right? I've never heard that referenced as
Yeah,
you need to work more.
Man, my work life balance is way off because I just watch Netflix all day.
Right.
Yeah, no one's ever said that.
But to me, a lot of it goes back to that quote, right? I mean, you got to find that work life balance to me is that quote, right? It's finding that position in your life where they're one and the same. Your work is your play. Your all those things. Your mind is your education. I mean, all those things. No one ever refers to work life balance as you really need to work more. And I mean, a lot of us work too much. I'm guilty of that for sure, but it doesn't feel like it. I don't. So for me, if you just looked at hours that I work, you'd say I have a very, very poor work life balance.
Yeah, what's your joke about being a
Oh yeah. The best thing of being an entrepreneur, business owner, whatever, is you get to pick which 80 hours a week you work.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Used to when I would travel, I still do my early morning and late evening routine where I'm checking what we did, I'm asking questions of the team and so forth, and I've had them text me back or whatever. It's like, Mike, you're on vacation. Drop it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm sure a lot of the people listening can understand. I can't enjoy my vacation if I don't look at those things.
Yeah, so Jason and I had a debate about this in the past when we kind of covered this topic because I do something called the power hour. I just think it sounds cool. I made it up, but but it's like when we go on vacation with the family, my wife and I have this understanding like I'm gonna get one really good hour in, probably like right when the kids wake up before they're really
Yep.
before we got to really do anything. We haven't really left the room yet or whatever. I get like an hour. I handle a couple of these like big things that I needed to move forward, send a couple of emails, make sure like the team that's still working is clear on kind of like what we need to accomplish that week with me not working. And that's it. It's like now I can chill. Like now I know things are fine,
Yeah, I do the exact same thing. I still, every day of the week, year round, I wake up about roughly an hour earlier than I need to. I do my routine, right? I mean, if you've ever read the book, the 5 a.m. Club or I think it's 5 a.m. Club. Yeah, it's
about like old guys who have to pee a lot.
No, it's just your routine of when you get stuff done, right?
Yeah.
And
no, I've heard of the book, haven't read it.
For me, it's 4:30, and I read, I catch up on news, I check my, I'll read I'll often do a devotional, something like that. I'll play words with friends with my wife, just whatever. That's my hour, right? And it's kind of my hour to wake up. It's my power hour, and I do that when I'm on vacation too. I get up and I take care of those things, but and part of that includes how's things at work. I check those emails. I send off stuff that needs to happen. I generally do one in the evening also. So I have maybe 2 power hours.
Yeah, nice. That one's happy hour, Mike.
Yeah, that's happy hour.
Mike had to one up the 5 a.m. guy and be the 4:30 a.m. guy. He's coming out with a new book, the 4:30 a.m. Club.
Yeah. But if I don't do those things, I'm off.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know what's going on.
Well, you're not really able to, for me at least, you're not able to be like fully present. And I know there's the whole thing, like you need to completely shut down. And I think there's probably some truth to that. I think that the best practice for life is probably somewhere in the middle. Like I know I went to the Boundary Waters once where there was no cell service at all. And that was pretty awesome because you were completely disconnected. But Yeah, most of the time you are connected, even when you're in the Caribbean or wherever you're on vacation or whatever. Your Wi-Fi's everywhere. You pretty much can stay connected. So, for me, I want to be connected with my family and connected to like what I'm actually doing, and that's why I got to get that power hour in for sure.
That's exactly what it is for me. If I don't get that power hour in, I won't be connected on the vacation because
Yeah,
I'll be wondering about what happened today, what
and
didn't
if your
happen
wife's
today.
anything like mine, she'll be like, "Where are you right now?"
Right. Right.
Because you're not here.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, that's that little distinction between your work and your play, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's you have to have that, and to me, that is work life balance. The being able to enjoy your life because of the work you did is the work life balance, and I guess to me, lots of times that means you got to work super hard so that you can go have those escapes.
I think that's another good point too. Like understanding that life has seasons and trying to be in whatever season you're in at the time. So, like for example, there's pretty much every successful person I know. There's a story of some season in their life where they just had to absolutely grind. A
Hmm.
lot of times it's like you're in college and you have a job, or it's the first two
Right.
years of you starting that new machine shop, or whatever it is. For me, I was like, I took forever to finish school. Like in Tommy Boy, he's like, man, you
Me
went to
too.
college for 8 years. A lot of people go to college for 8 years. He's like, yeah, they're called doctors.
Right.
So I went to college for a long time, and I'm not a doctor. But because of that, I had a child, and I was working full time, and I was finishing my degree, and that was like that grind session in my life where it was like there wasn't a lot of margin to do much else. But now is that sustainable for my entire career? No, but I understood I was in a season at that time, and there will be seasons probably near the tail end where I don't believe in like clean break retirement for myself at least, where
Sure.
you're just like
Yeah, I don't either.
done, see ya, now I just do nothing. So I will taper off, and that'll be a season where I'm not,
Well, and
on the
there's,
grind quite as much.
I think as manufacturing leaders too, I mean, we have to see our all of our people as seasons too, right? So if you judged anybody's performance on their performance on any given day, you could fire them,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you could pick a random Tuesday for me and fire me. You have to measure someone's value on their on a longer term, right? So we've got a guy right now. I think the other day I was telling you about. Um, I mean, he's going through some stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and if I were to judge his performance purely on the last 6 weeks, I could probably justify letting him go. If I was to judge his performance on the past couple years, he's a rock star. And I mean, we all go through those periods. And, like I was talking to him recently, and quite frankly, we'd kind of reached a point where the end was near for him because of drama outside of work. His performance at work wasn't necessarily a problem, but his life drama was keeping him from work.
Yeah, you got to be there. What's
Yeah,
the best ability is availability, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that, but that's
They
great.
always use it for like athletes who are injured all the time.
Sure. But as I explained to him, I mean, part of work life balance to me is when things are really really good at work and terrible at home, or not home, but you're in your personal life. Pour into work, pour into your professional life. If that's where you're happiest at that point in if that in that season of your life, pour into it, right?
Yeah, that could be your escape. Because some of the stuff is unavoidable. I mean, you've got outside forces, family members, drama, whatever, illnesses, things that when you go home, it's harder. It feels like the harder of the two jobs. You
Right.
know,
And
so
there's been
I agree
times
with
in my
that.
life where the personal, the personal side of my life was the stressful part of my life, right? So I poured into work. There's times that work has been the stressful part, and I decided to pour into the personal, right? that's the work-life balance that I guess I shoot for. Um, is I mean, of course, we all have those periods where yeah, it's that grind period, right? Like things at work suck, and it just means you have to double down at work. COVID, 2020 was that year for a lot of us, right? You couldn't just abandon your professional life because it was rough. You had to double down and
Yeah, we had
really,
like 2/3 of the country doing that, so we had to
right,
work extra hard.
right. Yeah, I mean, we were down. I think it was close to 60% that year, right? So I
Yeah.
mean, we had to really double down and just
Mhm.
really grind through that. But as you go through those days and weeks and months, put your time where it's the most beneficial to you from a balance perspective. Sometimes that means you do need to put more into work. That balance is more on the work side than the personal side, unlike what that statement generally means.
Yeah, I mean, it's a contrarian approach to the statement, right? And I
Right.
think it's totally valid. And I take an issue, like I agree with the fallacy thing, because if you look at like a scale, balance means like, okay, more work, less life, more life, less work. So, because that's balance.
Right.
And I heard somewhere like the right way to do it or the right way to describe it or what we're trying to achieve is work life integration.
There you go.
And that's basically what your quote said.
Sure.
By the way, I found the author. The guy's name is James Michener or Michener, Michener. So for anyone
Like the
who wants to,
bourbon.
well, that's why I went Mick because like Michter's, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, the integration and like perfect example, the Mr. Lindsay with the reels,
Yeah.
sells those, right?
Right.
So one of the parts he makes. It's also one of the things he
That's how
loves
he
to do.
that's how he got into the business.
Yeah, I'm working on setting up an episode with Bettinardi, the putters.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Those like really high end putters
yeah.
that
Yeah.
like Matt Fitzpatrick uses one. I think
Mm.
that guy lives like an hour away from me, and
Cool.
we got connected. And let me guess, he probably loves golf. He's probably awesome at it.
Right.
He's got a machine shop, and yeah, he's got putters that the pros are using. So
That's awesome.
that's this kind of integration. Mike, this is good. This is a good conversation, and I have
Well,
I have
it's
a
something we
concern.
all struggle with.
Yeah, I'm struggling with something right now. I'm struggling
What's
with
that?
how are we going to keep this episode to like a good 25, 30 minutes when we have so much more
Well,
to
that's
talk
going to be
about?
difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be hard.
So I think what we ought to do is call this part one. We'll end it here, and then we'll pick up with part two in a minute. And that way, people can listen on the way into work to part one and get their mind going, and listen on the way home. We got like 2 half-hour episodes then.
Maybe back to back while they're traveling.
Yeah, there you go. However you want to do it. We're going to break it up for you, though. So let's end part one with how we end everything. If you're not making chips,
You're not making money.
bam.